Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special meeting of the Board of Education for Monday, August 22nd, 2016. Read the roll call, Mrs. Carino.
A. Simmons. Odom. Here. Carroll. Here. Marks. Present. Ford. Here. Graves.
Here, and the quorum is present. First on the agenda, we have audience comments. Community members wishing to be heard by the board must sign in or ask to sign in before commencement of the meeting. According to board policy 230, the board president has authorization to give strict comments in 5 minutes. For ethical and legal reasons, comments and communications regarding school personnel who work in the district will not be heard in this format. During this part of the meeting, audience to visitors will be limited to 15 minutes or less. And we have comments by Vicki Stevenson.
Can I ask a procedural question before we begin?
Sure.
It states that the list you just signed up before the commencement of the meeting. Does that mean the time the meeting is supposed to start or the meeting is called to order?
I'm sorry.
Because the list was taken before the meeting was called to order, and other people were hoping to speak.
Okay.
And it hadn't been, the meeting hadn't been called to order. So I'm just asking for a clarification as to the procedure.
The procedure is when the board meeting begins, so when I announce the meeting.
Okay, well, it was taken probably 5 minutes before that.
Okay. That's simply because at 7 o'clock, board meeting does begin. I was late in coming because I picked up another board member who had a transportation issue. But generally speaking, we are going to limit comments to 15 minutes and individuals to 5. If we have time after that, we might be able to make accommodations, but there are a lot of people here, and I suspect that some may have some of the same comments. So, if you will, I just want to clarify quickly that, again, for the sake of personal privacy and discretion, I'll ask that you have any issues to address regarding specific persons, that you not refer to the person's name, or if you wish to address specific issues by name, you're certainly free to call the appropriate person during a regular school day at the building board administrator level as appropriate. I would thank audience members who have already emailed or called with their thoughts. And for the sake that everyone gets a chance to say what they'd like to say to the best that we can accommodate tonight, if there's a lot of you have one specific issue, if there's a spokesperson to speak for you, I think that'd be much more efficient compared to those who might have issues other than one that many people here would like to speak on.
Okay.
So, does that answer your question, or?
That answers that question, yes.
Okay.
I just want to clarify before I begin also, when regarding talking about personnel, does that include the superintendent?
That includes all employees and people related to the district. So if you have a specific issue that you have addressed with a specific employee and it has failed at the next highest level and it goes all the way up to the superintendent, that is when it's most appropriate to bring it to the board if you have an issue with the interaction that failed at an administrative level speaking with that particular person. So I guess with that said, I would suggest as much discretion as possible. Certainly make yourself clear as we would like to hear what you have to say. But I do encourage you to be as discreet as possible.
Okay. Okay, my name is Vicki Burke Stevenson. My husband and I have a 7th grader at Parker and a 4th grader at Western. My initial comments are regarding the general leadership at Parker. And from all accounts, the recently hired principals will qualify for the position, and I commend the district in hiring someone who seems to have a good deal of experience and knowledge about effective discipline, as that was an area of dire need of help at the junior high, so I do appreciate that. My concern is continued leadership at the school, and doing my best to be discreet here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There is reason to believe there may be some void in additional leadership, and I I want to bring to the board's attention my concern that this potential void was not dealt with earlier, so that we would not be in a position like we were today in one of the schools. You know, it seemed that proactive measures could be taken because certain facts were known many months ago. It's best I can do to be discreet. My second concern has to do with Odyssey and the company's claims of delivering an increase in scores. Having been recently provided with the 2015-2016 NWE scores for our district, I was appalled. It appears that our students are backsliding pretty much every year, and particularly upon entering and throughout junior high. I know this information was already shared with the board, but to give a highlight, the 6th grades, our IT scores were below the scores of the 5th grades. That alone is troubling enough, but the district is buying into to the tunes of tens of thousands of dollars, I believe, because I haven't seen actual figures. To do this is gross negligence at best. You know, not having the statistics at hand that would actually have refuted the claims that were made by the company at the June, meeting. July? I'm sorry, I don't remember. Is offensive to me as a parent and taxpayer on 4 homes in this district. My children hate Odyssey. Every child I've spoken to hates it. My son has had to repeat lessons because there hasn't been content available for him. The content is weak. Its benefit is extremely questionable, especially as there are many free options out there to fill that void, which seems to be no more than equal to a basic worksheet. Going back to my discussion. I have an assumption as to what you're speaking about tonight behind closed doors. And I think a lot of us have expressed our concerns about certain individuals to you. And I hope you take that very seriously as we move forward. Our schools need strong leadership. And we need something that's going to continue moving things forward so that the teachers feel supported at all times, so that they can teach our children appropriately, so that maybe we don't have this backsliding that we're having, particularly at the junior high level. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Next we have Shelley Amu, Dr. Amu.
Hi, I'm Shelley Amu. I have only one child in the district now. She's a 7th grader. My biggest concern, as I expressed to the board before, is writing. I think the writing curriculum needs a complete overhaul. I was assured by the previous curriculum and instruction person that by the time my son reached 8th grade, I would see some changes. However, my son started 6th and is now a freshman at HF, and I haven't seen much change in the writing curriculum. And as I speak to other parents that have their kids in honor and IB program at HF, the biggest thing that most students complain about that they're not prepared for is the writing curriculum that begins hard at HF. And we just don't do enough writing. So I think when we talk about new leadership, and now we have a new curriculum and instruction person, which I'm excited about, I think that's one of the first things on the agenda. And especially since the 8th graders only have one period of ELA, which is certainly not enough to get the kind of writing that they need to do in order to be very successful at HF. And I think most of the parents I know that most of the parents that I've talked with usually have to get a writing to make sure that their students are successful at HF. So I just want to reiterate the writing as we look at new leadership and new everything and how we're going to put together the writing curriculum. And as I stated before, I think one good thing to do with our money would be to hire writing specialists. Because we keep saying the teachers are going to get trained, and for 3 years, and my son's at Parker. I can see much improvement there.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amu. Next we have Maggie Backus. Mrs. Backus.
Hi, I'm Maggie Backus. I'm an 8th grader at Parker. My last name is here in 161. I'm a lifelong resident. I thank you for having this time to allow Parker parents and concerned citizens to talk about Parker. I probably sent numerous emails over the last 5 years expressing my concerns about Parker. I have not seen the results that I would expect over 5 years. To begin with, I know I've expressed, beginning in elementary school, about the number of substitute teachers we've had in the last probably 6 years, and how that increased took place with the change of administration. Number one concern at Parker Junior High is getting behavior, getting the classrooms in situations where students can learn and teachers can teach. If they're not in their classrooms, they cannot teach, and you can basically assume that when there's a guest teacher, the behavior is not going to be what it should be. Those are missed opportunities. So I am begging the school board, whoever I need to set a goal for this year that we are reducing the number of substitute teachers at Parker Junior High. It's a very easy, measurable goal. That would be number one. Number two, we have a number of teachers that are struggling. We have students and teachers that are paired that do not work out. I have spoken with administrators numerous times last year about general classrooms where we know it's not working. And over time and time again, we keep pushing it along, and then it's May, and at the end of the year, the students did not learn, the teachers did not teach, but worst of all, they didn't teach a whole classroom full of kids on a regular basis due to behavior. We need to be swift from the beginning. Now, that's another thing I'd like to thank you for. We're talking about Parker on the first day of school. We actually have the opportunity right now to make some changes at Parker and change the image of this building. It's bad. I mean, everybody here wants to support it, but we need to be able to shout from rooftops if there's something good to talk about. Right now, I cannot tell you. I know I brought this up to Mr. Duster, Dr. Duster last year at the February coffee. What can we tell the community about Parker Junior High next year? Number three.
Can I please ask you?
Yes.
Ask a question? Just to clarify.
Sure.
You said teacher-student relationships aren't working out.
If we have students in a classroom that over time and with interventions, with parent contact, with communication, whatever you need to do, if it's not working out, are we looking at the relationship between the teacher and the student? And possibly it would mean maybe changing the student from that classroom.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Number three, this is something that I feel very passionate about because we're an elementary school district. I don't feel that this district communicates in an elementary caring style. I think it has really hurt this community. We are an elementary K through 8. These kids are kids. They're young, and the families are young and need guidance. We need to change the way that we communicate with our families. It needs to come across in a way that we want to help them, that we're here to help them, and that we actually care about them. I do not feel that that is done. I feel like we're very cold-hearted, and it's very sad. I think about these poor families with these little kids, and I feel like they're shut the door. I think registration feels like you're going through a jail. It should be happy, and it should be positive, and it should be supportive. Number four, I don't know why our district doesn't do something simple, which is evaluate. Teachers are asked to be evaluated. We don't evaluate programs. The same programs have been going on and on. I'll give a perfect example, National Junior Honor Society. There's things about that program that are so simply changed. There were so many 7th grade parents last year that didn't have a clue about that program. If it would have been explained at the beginning of the year in writing, in large groups, multiple ways, those 7th grade kids could have had an opportunity to say, hey, I actually have a chance to be a part of something that's special. It was an afterthought. I feel like this is one example of PBIS. I did ask my 8th grader today, who's been through PBIS since kindergarten, how was it today? Did it seem any different? No, it's exactly the same. Now granted, she's in junior high, so I don't trust everything she said. She's gonna come home and give me her comments and so on. But she said something very simple, and I thought, you know what? Why is this not even considered? She said, in 8th grade, you should only have to have 1 day of it. In 7th grade, have 2. In 6th grade, okay, it makes sense to have 3. But 8th graders should not have to go through 3 days where they could actually start learning tomorrow, listening to the same lectures year after year. The other 2 things I'd just like to mention, which are not specific to Parker, and then I'll be done, is the need for going back to the basics. and this goes through evaluative programs. I don't think that enough evaluation has been done with our iPad program. We probably have, and I brought this up in email and some of the evaluations that tools that we've done sent out to the district. Have we talked to the sixth grade teachers? Do they feel like iPads work in their grade levels? There's going to be certain grade levels that are going to work better. I think the iPads is an example of we've gotten so far from the basics that we've lost sight on what we're trying to do with these kids. There was a sixth grade teacher, Ms. Manis, told me one time, she said, I do feel like kids don't play school anymore. We don't have planners at Parker Junior High. We don't send papers home. We don't have papers signed saying, I know you got the score on a test. Everything is locked in the school, we have no clue. If you get on e-chalk and it's the wrong assignment, there's no way of knowing what's really going on in school. We need multiple ways of communicating, and we also need textbooks. They go to high school, they come home with a box of textbooks. At Parker or at most of the junior or the elementary schools, we don't have books for kids to carry home. And last but not least, it's a simple concept of there's best practices at each grade level. Can't we discover what those best practices are? And in fourth grade, whatever the 5 best practices are, why aren't every fourth grader classes across the district doing them? I still don't think that's happening. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. We have 2 minutes left to the allotted time by which we have to move on. I think that certainly our speakers certainly covered a lot of important points, and we certainly appreciate the emails that we received and phone calls and signs of community engagement and interest in making this a great school district and community. So if there are no further comments, yes?
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't have an opinion to express, but I have a couple of facts to express, which is, and a request for I was looking at some of the NWE data on the website, and again, this is not my opinion, but the data is some of the data is just factually wrong. It's wrong. Number 2, it's not represented accurately. So that has to be corrected. And as an editorial comment, I have to think that NWEA scores are one of the most important metrics that you can use to measure how well this district is doing in educating its kids. And the fact that you have it on the website, as far as I can tell, the only data regarding how we're doing on standardized tests, and that's, again, factually wrong and not represented correctly. So my question is, I would like to have any board presentation that the administration has done on the NWEA scores. I would also like the last 4 or 5 years of NWEA documentation, including scores, percentiles, glossary of terms, and I think that will do it. But, I mean, we just can't have this. I mean, this is just unacceptable, and you have data on our district which is not right. And I'm going to come back here next Monday, and I'm going to tell you what the errors are, and how we, in fact, are looking. And that, frankly, is not my job. It's your job, it's your job, and you're not doing it right. So if anybody can tell me when I can get that documentation of the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Gustafson. Please
Who should I follow?
That would be the superintendent. Please call tomorrow, and we'll be back to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, can you please come, just state your name?
Sure,
please?
that's good. My name is Jim Gislason, Flossmoor resident, former board member. Thanks.
At this time, we will enter into executive session. I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session for matters related to personnel, 5 ILCS 122C1.
Okay. Four.
Do we confirm that there are no other audience members that have comments?
You know, unfortunately, Unfortunately, by policy, we're out of time. We're watching the clock, trying to offer some sort of opportunity for people to speak if they do, but at this point, by policy, we have maxed out of time.
So will we make available another opportunity for community members to voice their opinions, concerns, questions?
Every meeting that we have, by law, we're obligated to have audience comments. And so twice a month, there is an opportunity for concerned district members to come in and voice any concern that they have. They cannot be resolved at the administrative level or at the building level or wherever it's most appropriate. And certainly, we appreciate all of your comments via email and your calls. They're certainly acknowledged and they're certainly addressed as they come in. Beyond that, if you have a comment or concern, please call the superintendent's office or wherever it is most appropriate to address the issue at the level it is at.
So the allotted time for every board member for audience comments is a maximum of how many minutes?
15 minutes.
Does that include you talking during those 15 minutes?
No, this is strictly.
So we should bring a stopwatch and get just people talking,
Just people talking.
because that was not 15 minutes.
Okay, I wrote down 7:10, right when the first person started talking, and I watched carefully to make sure that we do not in any
This is a
way.
rule you implemented. This isn't actually a rule. This is your rule.
This is our district policy.
Right. But you could change that and let people speak if you actually cared what everyone had to say.
Theoretically,
I mean,
yes.
there's-
Theoretically, okay, so theoretically, there's lots of things you could do. However, for the sake of what we need to get done as a board, there's a lot of things. We would love to hear from all of you. Please do so if you wish to send an email, make a concern. It's one of the, it's part of the mission of the school that we are reaching out into the community and we get as much as possible. Okay, but in terms of board meetings, at some point we do cut it off. I let you know ahead of time so that you get a chance to say what you have to say. We have certain policies in place so that this is a more efficient meeting. This is a meeting in the public. This is not a meeting of the public. I do encourage everyone as much as possible, and this is what I did before I got onto the board, was I went to every single board meeting I could. And whenever possible, whenever I had something to say, I took advantage of that time that was allotted to me by the board. Okay? And in the most effective way I could find, voiced my concern. And I sent an email for follow-up, and I called those who I needed to call. And I encourage you, this is your district. This is all of our district. For some of us, we are alumni. And I know that we went to high school together as well as Parker. I encourage you to stay as involved as you can. Okay, but I do have to insist that we follow some sort of parameters so that we are efficient in our board practices.
What should our expectation be in terms of getting a response to an email? Yeah, I myself sent an email last week to every member of the board and the superintendent and didn't get a response from one person, so I'm just wondering what the expectation should be.
We have a specific policy for practice. Okay, well, certainly if there's a lot of emails, I will return them as soon as I can. I ask you to please be patient. They will be all addressed.
Because we've been told very few.
Call a special board meeting
Yeah.
outside of your regularly scheduled board meetings.
I'm sorry?
I said you have the, as a board, you have the authority to schedule a special meeting outside of your regularly scheduled board meeting.
Yes, we do, which is exactly why we're here today, because I scheduled a special
I
board
mean,
meeting.
specifically for the purpose of public comment.
I'm sorry? For specific,
public comment.
Just for public comment.
meeting, just for public comment.
you know what?
did it in June.
Okay, that was their choice to do what they did. If I see a need, we certainly can do that. Right?
There is a need, that's why we're here tonight. There is a
So
need.
I think, speaking as a board member and speaking as a parent who also has children in this district, the fact that all of these people came out to take the time to voice their opinion about, we haven't seen this many people since I've been on the board for the past year. So clearly, there are issues that are crucial and timely enough that they feel like they need to voice their opinion, and we do not provide an opportunity outside of the 10, 15 minutes allotted at our board meeting, at our board member meetings, to give them the opportunity to talk to the board, to ask questions, to voice their opinions, and it's just simply not right. Ask them to come to the next 5 board meetings until they get the opportunity to talk to us, because that's 5 months away. And over the next 5 months, a whole lot can happen in this district. And I think we owe it to them to be able to listen to. We can't solve 1,001 things tonight. I get we've got some crucial items on our agenda that we need to be dismissed and be able to talk about, but we cannot devalue their opinions and their issues because they have no other opportunity to actually allow us to hear them. So we need to figure out a way to be able to do this.
Okay, I absolutely agree with you, and I think that that's something certainly next, at our committee as a whole, we can put on the agenda and discuss how we want to respond to the comments that are. Does that sound reasonable?
It's not just respond to the 3 individuals that we had the opportunity to hear from. It also allowed the rest of the folks in the audience the opportunity to talk. We don't know what all of their issues are.
You know, Mrs. Horth, I couldn't agree with you more. However, for library meeting tonight, we need to stay focused. There is nothing that is spoken as a concern that is dismissed in any way or is something that the board is not concerned with. However, for the purpose of tonight's meeting, we need to move into.
I do not disagree. I just said that I'm saying we need to figure out a way to provide our community residents an opportunity.
The most appropriate way to address that, as we've heard a lot of concerns, and frankly, some of them have come through as email, and we've seen them.
People don't answer them.
Okay. However, a lot of questions. However, for tonight's meeting, and that again is something that would be a good discussion next week during our committee of the whole meeting. But for tonight's meeting, I think that we need to move to executive session, and we will address this. We can't address all these tonight. We can only really address these.
That's not what I'm asking.
Okay, I understand. As I said, the most appropriate way would be to address this at the next committee of the whole meeting as an agenda item to address how we gather concerns from the community and how we address them in one time frame. I think it would be an entirely appropriate conversation to have at the beginning of the school year so that we're clear moving ahead and that we are all on the same page.
So it will be on the agenda to discuss next week.
On the agenda to discuss next week. Okay.
It should be something too that, sorry, go ahead.
Pause here, please. This is her.
When you and I ran for school board, it was this type of thing that you said. It was the inability to communicate to the school board and go outside of policy and procedure when we started. The voices that came forth tonight were appropriate, but there are many more voices here. And I'm not saying turn this into a circus of people's lives. I am not saying call this into a time when we are here. Believe me, it is my child's first night of school. I do not want to be here too late. But we have a responsibility to hear other voices. We were shut down when we came to listen to a meeting like this. With that same reason of 15 minutes. And when we do that, I think we cause more issues. We cause more issues than anything. When people don't feel like they're heard. To take more time now to listen to some comments will save us a lot of time on the back end from angry people who don't feel they're heard. I am not saying to change policy because I am afraid of people being mad, but I am saying that our community is a huge part and a voice in the decisions we're about to go back here and discuss. And if there are things that we need to hear to be informed, to make the right decisions,
we need to do what is appropriate and right. It is not to have the comments now, after we go to session, and come back, I don't know what the right time is, and we have been working outside of some procedures sometimes. And this is one of those times we really need to listen about. We came to this in one of the platforms you and I both ran on, were a greater opportunity around transparency and communication. And that means both ways.
Okay.
I honestly, I'm not asking, I don't know the right answer, I cannot stop it and go in the back about communicating. Because this is the same type of forum that calls more issues because people do not feel heard. Just because we make a decision that you don't agree with in the end, not everybody's going to be happy. But if you don't feel like you're heard, you don't feel like that is a form piece of one of your board that you're elected to make this decision, it causes more issues. Communication is both ways. Speaking and listening.
Okay, I could not agree with you more. I am second to none in my interest in what our community has to say and the timely fashion in which it is addressed. My point is that for this meeting, which is called as a special meeting, we have a specific purpose we need to address. Absolutely, at every possible opportunity, I think we need to hear from the community. However, for the purpose of and the discipline for what we are here for tonight, this is not that time. I do hope that we are as popular or populated at every single board meeting, and that we have this amount of people, we fill those seats. I think that is a very important component of participating in our district. Not solely to, put our children, which is our greatest treasure, through our school, but to actively participate. This is in fact why you met. And this was in fact a big sticking point. And as much as I am absolutely committed to hearing every single person who has something to say at the appropriate level and have it addressed, please believe me in that. For the purpose of tonight, and right now, we need to go into executive session.
Is there an opportunity that at the next calendar we can make an extended time? Is that something that people are going to talk about so that we know when people come back, they aren't coming back with the expectation of 15 minutes, but that we can give a lot of time, greater time, that they know that is taking.
That would be fine. I certainly have no issue with that whatsoever. I would ask that as much as possible, if you would like to speak, and have more than 15 minutes because there's a bigger issue that needs to be addressed, that we have some way of gathering that. And I think the most appropriate would be to call the superintendent, who could put us in contact, with the district secretary to gather those so we can be organized and address those in the most appropriate way. So I absolutely, and I know this is the first day of school. This is the first day of school for my children too, who I actually haven't had a chance to really talk to and find out how their day went. There is no one who is more aware of that than myself, although equally so I think everyone else is as well. So I would have no issue with that. I think that's a great idea. I only ask that we be as organized and efficient about that as possible to avoid redundancies, to give people a chance to say what they'd like to say, and to make sure that people have the opportunity not just to speak, but to be heard. So moving forward, yes, absolutely. For tonight, this is the best we can accommodate at the moment, and I apologize if it's if it's not enough, but this is what we need to do right now. Okay, we have a second. Okay. Can we roll call this Sabrina?
Okay, Ford? Yes. Oda? Yes. Carol? Yes. Marks?
Words, no.
Simmons?
Yes.
Huckabee? And Fritz?
Yes, the motion is passed. We'll be in executive session. I imagine we'll be there for about an hour or so, if not more. You're welcome to stay. If you wish to talk to anyone afterwards, we don't have anything else on the agenda. Immediately after.
Are you taking action
We don't have any audience comments on the agenda. I appreciate everyone who has come and everyone who has committed to long hours here. And I wish I had more of an open forum by which you could discuss your concerns at this time. We will have more opportunity for you in the future, and so we thank you and hope you come back and are able to voice your concerns in a way that we can be most proactive. At this time, I will entertain a motion to end executive session. Or, I'm sorry, end our special meeting. Okay, so first we have.
Second.
Okay, and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it, we are adjourned.